Jack it up.
Chaitanya deemed to be University, Warangal, Telangana. PhD programs in engineering, pharmacy, sciences and business management. Courses offered: engineering, pharmacy, PharmD, MSc, MCA, MBA, BSc, AI robotics, data science, BCA, BBA, BBM, BCom, industry integrated courses, BSc computer science, cognitive systems, BCom business process management. Applications are invited for entrance test and admissions. మరిన్ని వివరాలకు chaitanya.edu.in కి లాగిన్ అవ్వండి.
Hello guys, welcome back to our next video. In our past video, we've been talking about pharmacology. So we say, what is pharmacology? And we talk about pharmacokinetics, where we talk about absorption, distributions, metabolism, and elimination. But for this video, we will be looking at pharmacodynamics. So what is pharmacodynamics? Pharmacodynamics is a study of drugs' action on the biological system. In another word, what the drugs does to the body. Like we said, the word pharmacon means drugs, and dynamics means movement. So it is the movements of the drugs within the biological system. So for drugs to show its biological action, it needs to act on structure like receptor and enzymes. So when the drug is administered to the patients, before it shows its biological actions, it needs to act on receptor or an enzyme. So what is receptor? Receptor are macromolecules. Receptor are protein on which a ligand binds to show its pharmacological actions. So what is a ligand? Ligands. Ligands are these substances that binds with the receptor to show its biological action. So example of ligands are hormones, drugs, toxin, neurotransmitter, and other substances as well. So to understand the functions of a hormones, to understand the function of a drugs, to understand the function of toxin, neurotransmitter, you need to understand what is a receptor. So, like we say, receptors are macromolecules on which a ligand binds to show its pharmacological action. So, for an example, here we say here, this is a receptor. We say this is a receptor. So here, these are ligands. These ligands going to bind with this receptor. We say it is micromolecule. We say they are macromolecules. So the point at which these ligands going to bind on the receptor, we call it the ligands binding domain. So this point is called the ligand binding domain. So when the ligand binds with the receptor, it's going to stimulate, or we say modify, the actions of the cell to show its biochemical effects. So when these ligands binds with the receptor here, or the macromolecules, or the protein, it's going to stimulate or modify the actions of this receptor and show its biological action. Now, ligands also binds with other substances like plasma protein. So for example, we say drugs. This ligand is going to bind with the plasma protein. But what happened? Plasma protein do bind with ligands, but it do not show its biochemical effect. So therefore, a plasma protein is not a receptor. So generally, we are going to classify receptor into two different groups. Okay, generally there are two types of receptor. These receptors are based on the ligands. So it means that we have receptor on the surface of the cell, and we have receptor within the cell. So here, as you can see, this is the structure of the cell. We have the cell membrane, and we have the cytosol. So we have ligands A and we have ligand B. But ligands A, these are ligands that are highly polar, they are high molecular weight, and they have high charges. So the peptide is highly polar in nature, means that they can be easily dissolved in water. So based on their high polarity, they cannot penetrate the cell membrane. So we say, example here, we talk about insulin, growth hormones. These are examples of peptides. When you administer, like we know that insulin is a drug that is administered during the conditions of diabetes. Now, when the physician administers insulin to the patient, the insulin do not penetrate the cell membrane. Why? Because it is highly polar in nature. It has high polarity. So based on the high polarity, the insulin will not penetrate the cell membrane. So there is a receptor present at the membrane of the cell on which these ligand A is going to bind and modify the actions of this cell and show biochemical action or biochemical effects. So in the same way, if you administer a drug of growth hormones, they are not going to penetrate because they are highly polar, they have high molecular weight, they have high charges. So they will not penetrate the cell membrane. So another one is what we call ligand B. Ligand B are these ligands that are hydrophobic in nature. They are hydrophobic in nature because they cannot easily be dissolved in water, like steroid, cholesterol, oil, fats. So they are all hydrophobic in nature. So they are ligands. So based on their being hydrophobic in nature, they can easily penetrate the cell membrane. So therefore, there should be a ligand present within the cell at the cytosol on which these ligands is going to bind and modify the actions of the cell so that they can produce biochemical effects. Before any drugs, before any ligands, neurotransmitter, before any of them show a biochemical effects on the biological system, means that they must act on the receptor. And these receptors are present either within or on the membranes of the cell. So, like we say, generally we have two major types of receptor. We have receptor within the cell, and we have receptor on the membranes of the cell. In our next video, we'll be talking about the various types of receptor, where we'll be talking about the G-coupled protein receptor, the enzymatic receptor, the ion gate ligand channels receptor. So these receptors are going to act at different points based on their polarity, based on their charges, based on their being hydrophobic in nature. So we're going to be talking about them in our next video. So just to quickly rehearse for this video, we've been talking about pharmacodynamics. We say what the drug is going to do to the body, and we talk about receptor. We talk about enzymes. We say before a drug show a biochemical actions, it needs to bind on a receptor. It needs to bind on the enzymes. So like now we're talking about types of receptor within the cell, and receptor on the surface of the cell. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you subscribe, share, and comment. Remember, your comments are essential and will be noted in our next video. Thanks for watching.
Jack it up.